For the homework due October 8th, you need to write an equation and define the independent and dependent variables. Let's look at a problem. Students are selling tickets to a school play. The goal is to raise $600. Tickets are $4 for adults and $3 for students. Write the equation that models the situation, then graph it to find three possible number sets of an adult ticket and student tickets to be sold to reach the goal. For homework due October 8th, all you have to do is define the independent and dependent variables and write the equation. You don't have to do the graphing it or finding the other information that the problem asks you to do. Now for this type of problem, it's hard to tell which one is the independent or dependent variable, because you could say that if you sell a certain amount of adult tickets, then it depends on how many student tickets that you could sell in order to reach the $600. But then the same could be said the other way. Like, let's say you sell 100 student tickets, then it depends on how many adult tickets that you sell. Since it's not really clear which one depends on the other, you can just choose. So here I chose independent variable to be A and the dependent variable to be S. I'll reveal the equation in just a moment, but let's just define these variables. Okay, so we have independent variable is A, so this means number of adult tickets sold to reach the goal. And then S would be number of student tickets sold to reach the goal. Now once you've defined your independent and dependent variables, it might be easier to set up your equation. So if we know that $4 times this and $3 times this is going to give you a certain amount of money, that certain amount of money should be $600. So here we have in our equation, 4A represents $4 for each adult ticket sold, plus $3 for each student ticket sold, should be equal to the $600 goal. That is how I came up with the equation and the independent and dependent variable. Let's look at a different equation. Now in this equation, it's going to be easier to define the independent and dependent variable. Betsy is reading her book for English. She notices she has 20 pages left to read. She can read 5 pages in an hour. Write an equation that gives the number of pages she has left to read as a function of the number of hours she spends reading. Graph the equation, find out when she will finish the book. So once again, for homework due on October 8th, all we're going to do is define the independent dependent variable and write the equation. So, independent variable, dependent variable. Now, for this one, sometimes it's easier to say it in terms of what depends on the other. So in this case, the number of pages she has left to read depends on the hours she spends reading. That means that the dependent variable could be represented as P, and you could say number of pages Betsy has left to read. That leaves that the independent variable is the number of hours Betsy spends reading. So, you're saying that if you pick any number of hours that Betsy could read, you could find out how many pages Betsy has left to read. Notice that when I defined the variables, I did not say hours is H or P is number of pages. I made it very clear to use similar wording that the problem gives. Hours Betsy spends reading. Hours she spends reading. Number of pages Betsy has left to read. Number of pages she has left to read. The way that you define your variable should be nearly exactly the way that it's defined in the problem. This helps you to understand how to write the equation. Now, when we say as a function, that means that your dependent variable is going to be equal to some sort of rate and the independent variable plus the initial amount. So in this case, the rate is 5 pages per hour, and she has 20 pages to read. Now, if she reads 5 pages per hour, is that adding to or subtracting from the 20? There's actually two ways you could write this. You could write this as kind of a decrease of the number of pages, or you could write it as 20 minus 5h. Either way, this negative means that there's a decrease of the number of pages per hour that you read.